Pepper, she will me. And I wasn't. My better to pay my face. I pay a cool to remember Peter's results and then I took it.
In the early 1950s, Australian officers patrolling the eastern highlands of Papua New Guinea reported a mysterious and terrifying illness that had devastated one of the local tribes. This illness was characterized by bizarre symptoms, including uncontrollable fits of laughter. Various theories circulated about its cause, ranging from psychosomatic to sorcery. While the eventual explanation will prove to be biologic, it was one of the most disturbing discoveries in modern medicine. Welcome back to Dana Reviews, where today we take a look at Kuru, also known as the laughing death disease. Remember to subscribe. Kuru is a rare and fatal neurodegenerative disorder that was common amongst the Foro people of Papua New Guinea. It's a form of transmissible spongiform encephalopathy caused by one of the most unusual disease-causing agents known to mankind. Unlike most diseases that are caused by the usual suspects such as viruses, bacteria, fungi, and parasites, Kuru is caused by a real curveball of an agent. It's mysterious, tragic, but ultimately a crucial piece of medical history. The disease is divided into phases. First, let's talk about the preclinical or incubation period. This can last anywhere from 5 to 50 years, but usually averages around 10 to 13 years. The disease buys its time before making its grand entrance. Why is this important? Hang tight, we'll get to that. The clinical stage lasts an average of 12 to 24 months of incredible agony, dysfunction, and death. That's right, Kuru is 100% fatal and has no treatment or cure. The stages of the clinical stage are: Stage 1, the ambulant stage. Now imagine trying to walk after spinning in circles for a minute. This is how a typical patient with Kuru feels like. They experience an unsteady gait, decreased muscle control, difficulty pronouncing certain words, and tremors. They can still walk, but it's a very wobbly ordeal. The second stage is the sedentary stage. At this point, walking without support is a no-go. The person experiences ataxia, emotional instability, and depression. This is mixed with bouts of uncontrollable laughter. That is why Kuru earned his creepy nickname, the laughing death. In the final act, or the terminal stage, the ability to speak, eat, or control one's bowels completely vanishes. The victim lies helplessly, developing wounds from malnutrition and suffering from pneumonia due to breathing difficulties. It's a slow and horrific way to die. The Kuru epidemic was a devastating chapter for the Foro people, killing 1 to 2% of the population annually at its peak. Interestingly, it was 8 times more common in women and children as compared to men. This is a critical clue that will unravel soon. One peculiar thing about Kuru was that it was localized to the Foro people and the people they intermarried with. Due to the localization of the disease, possible theories about its transmission were infection or more likely a genetic transmission. However, no evidence of bacteria, viruses, or any other known infectious causes were ever found. This left one possibility: genetic transmission. So in the 1960s, Shirley Lindenbaum, an anthropologist from the City University of New York, received a grant from the Rockefeller Foundation to investigate this genetic hypothesis. Lindenbaum and her team couldn't link the disease to biological inheritance. Instead, they uncovered a much more disturbing hypothesis. Lindenbaum and other researchers, including Australian medical researcher Michael Alpers, made an association between the disease and a peculiar aspect of Foro culture. You see, in the Foro region, bodies were either buried, placed in baskets, or on platforms in groves, or, and brace yourself for this one, cooked and eaten in a practice that is now called transumption. This is the act by which bodies are placed in sepulchres and then removed, cooked, and eaten after a few days. The practice of eating the dead and incorporating their flesh into the bodies of living relatives was meant to free the spirit of the dead and give blessings to those who ate it. The body was frequently prepared by the women of the tribe, and they ate most of it, including, crucially, the brain. The men would usually eat the other parts or will not partake in it at all, since they thought that human meat made them weak and unable to fight wars, which were very common with other tribes. Children under 3 were never fed any part of the body, but those aged between 3 and 6 were indulged even though they were not meant to eat the brain. Their mothers would usually share the brain with them because it was one of the most tender and tasty parts of the body. Boys aged over 6 years old were raised by the men, so they never got to eat the brains after they turned 6. Now, Lindenbaum and other researchers were soon able to prove that this practice, called funerary cannibalism, was the cause of the disease, but they were unable to isolate the organism that caused it. With a ban on cannibalism in 1959 imposed by the Australian authorities, the incidence of the disease started to decline steadily. The last person with Kuru died in 2012, indicating a very long latency period that has been thought to be up to 50 years long. While Lindenbaum was traveling from village to village chasing the funeral lead, another group from the US National Institutes of Health, led by Dr. D. Carlton Gujasek, took samples of diseased human brain tissue and injected this into various small animals. They did this by drilling holes in the animals' heads and placing pureed brain matter into their cerebellums. They were eventually able to reproduce the disease in chimpanzees around 2 years after exposure. The chimps developed symptoms similar to those seen in the Foro people. Therefore, Kuru is the first disease of its kind that was shown to be transmissible to chimpanzees in this way. This important discovery will lead way to many similar discoveries for other rare diseases such as Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. In 1966, Gujasek concluded that Kuru was transmitted by what he called a slow, unconventional virus through the Fourier practice of consumption. Neurologist Stanley Prusner of UC San Francisco theorized and later proved that the pathogen may be a deadly variety of a normal protein that can amplify itself in the brain. He called this protein a prion. Prions are misfolded proteins that induce other healthy proteins to assume a similar and malfunctioned shape, disrupting cellular metabolism and leading to cell death in the brain. Prions are extremely difficult to destroy, even in boiling water. They are not recognized by the immune system as foreign because they do not contain any antigens or any genetic material, so the body cannot protect itself against their effects as it would against any other infectious agent. The research into Kuru resulted in 2 Nobel Prizes, in 1976 for Dr. Gajasek and in 1997 for Dr. Prusner. Further studies by Gajasek and others found that a similar agent to the one causing Kuru was responsible for scrapie, a disease that affects sheep, and Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, a degenerative brain disorder that leads to dementia and ultimately death. It was also responsible for bovine spongiform encephalopathy, more commonly known as mad cow disease. More recently, researchers have found that even though the forest past custom of funerary cannibalism led to tragedy, it also resulted in a unique adaptation. In 2015, scientists discovered that some of the Foro people had developed a gene that protects them from Kuru as well as other prion diseases, such as Creutzfeldt-Jakob, and it may even protect them from other similar diseases that have been theorized to result from misfolded proteins, such as Alzheimer's disease, which, as some of you might know, currently has no cure. While they are unlikely to return to the grisly customs of their ancestors, today's Foro people can be thankful and proud that the unintended consequence of a long-held ritual now offers a positive trait that may hold the key to defeating some of humanity's most debilitating neural conditions. That's it for today. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to like, share and subscribe, and always keep on learning. I'll see you next week.